Hello, this is Todd Shank from Premier FPL. I'm going to be doing my Gameweek 13 preview here, looking over my Fantasy Premier League tips for Week 13. Um, so I guess starting out here, I have the fixtures planner for Gameweek 13 through 23. So this article is available on PremierFPL.com. Put it out earlier this week. Do have it arranged based on difficulty. I haven't yet been able to fully update it with the way that I want it to be laid out, but did kind of take some of the difficulty measurements done by the official fantasy game. So you can kind of go here, get a good idea of kind of where teams are at for this week, and looking ahead, trying to figure out, make a plan for matches coming up. So for my Week 13 Fantasy Premier League tips, I'm going to be starting out with the official FPL game here, and then going to be going through a few other formats, a couple that I just recently got involved in, and will likely put out some additional content for them later on. Just trying to cover everything with this video right now, and then we'll try to come back later on. As I mentioned in my video, I guess yesterday, doing my Game Week 12 review, tomorrow is Thanksgiving here in the States, and I'm going to be traveling later today, so don't really have as much time as I normally would to be able to put out all of the content that I would like to. So, all right, starting out, I did do my Week 12 review yesterday, so kind of went over where my points were for last week. Did have 77 points last week, and jumped up just about 600,000 places in the rankings. So it was a pretty good week for me. So this was my team last week. Right now, the only doubt is Firmino, and he's at 75% chance, so still a possibility that he could play for this weekend, and I will probably leave him in. Traveling to Newcastle, I still favor Watford in that one, so I guess we'll see how that one actually turns out. Thinking about making changes with Jesus and Sterling, but the big one that I really need to address is my bench. Francis, I know he's not going to be out for too terribly long, so I could hang on to him. But Carroll, definitely want to look at dropping him. He's not getting the same minutes as he was earlier in the year, and I really need to build up the bench, get some guys on there that are going to be bringing in points over the Christmas period. Jones right now, I know it says he's expected back this weekend, or I guess next week, but I guess we'll see. Before I forget, do not forget that there is a Friday kickoff. So West Ham, Leicester starting at, what is that? Was it 8 o'clock Friday evening? So that's about 3 o'clock here in the States. That means for myself, I'm going to have to get my team in by 1 o'clock on Friday. The other thing to watch out for, and I will try to put out a video probably Sunday to address this, but Game Week 14 is next Tuesday and Wednesday, so less than a week away for Game Week 14, so make sure that you're prepared for that as well. It's a fun time of the season when it comes to like doing the Premier League fantasy stuff and watching matches, of course, but it can get a little bit stressful when you're trying to keep up with everything. You got to really stay on top of it. Really stay on top of your team. So, looking at my transfers here, like I said, Carroll is one that I want to drop. I do have 0.8 in the bank, and I would like to definitely do something with that here in midfield. The one that I have been considering doing is doing something like Choupo-Moting, and then trying to lose some, maybe drop Jones here, free up, so that would give me 5.0 to be able to free it up there. Can't really do a whole lot with Francis. That I don't really want a 4.0 defender in there. The other option would be to try to move something around here with Lukaku or Jesus. Lukaku's fixtures coming up. As you can see here, Brighton and Watford, decent, but then they do have Arsenal and Man City. So have to wait and see. I don't know if I really want to hang on to him for those matches because traditionally he has not performed well against the bigger clubs, but he is facing off against Brighton and Watford these next 2 game weeks, so probably do want to hang on to him for those 2. One thing that I was actually thinking about trying to do is free up some room to bring in Kane. That would mean dropping Jesus or Morata, but Tottenham, West Brom at home, Leicester, Watford, Stoke, Brighton, all favorable matches, and their Christmas period is going to be really strong for them as well. 2 home games right here on Boxing Day and New Year's Eve times. So would like to make room to bring Kane in. I think he is going to get points in there, and it's also going to be a time that I really think that Guardiola is going to be rotating a lot of his players through this time period. So maybe not getting as much playing time for Jesus or even Aguero. Like I said, I like to have guys that are going to be playing week in and week out. So again, I could be missing out on points if I go with Kane and drop Jesus or don't pick up Aguero, something like that. But I like I said, I like the idea of keeping the guys that are going to be playing regularly. He is still the highest in the official game in terms of dollar amount, so it's kind of a tough call there. But anyway, going back to my midfield dilemma here, it would be nice to try to get Salah in here. Liverpool, again, have some really decent matches in here, and even these matches against Arsenal and Man City could definitely see them getting goals in that. So I would like to make room for Salah. It might mean dropping somebody like Silva, or even going a little bit cheaper here with my forwards. But I do have to figure out what I'm doing with Carroll. So actually, let me go here and show you. Crystal Palace is a team that's looked a little bit better in recent weeks. Loftus-Cheek is also at 4.5. He's been getting minutes, except when he was injured. I mean, not really huge amounts of points, but I mean, this match against Chelsea didn't play because he's owned by Chelsea, so or on their books as far as being contracted to them. Did get an assist last week, so he's one that should be playing more frequently and has the ability to get some points. So that's probably where I'm going to make my move for this week, and might hang on to my extra transfer, because if I move him out, yeah, I'll have, if Jones is still out this weekend, Francis is still out this weekend, I'm really relying heavily on Kiko being fit for this weekend. So that's the one dilemma that I'll have back there. All right, as far as recommending tips for this week, like I said, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a good, solid pick. Free up some space in your midfield. I'm definitely recommending him. Choupo-Moting is another one. Again, these, if you look up here at the top players, having someone like Richarlison and Gross in your team really frees up a lot of space to have some of these big hitters up front. But I would say one thing you might want to look at doing is something more like moving to a 3-5-2 at this point, trying to make room to bring in Salah. It's a tough call whether you want to go with Sterling or Sané. Try to pick up both of them. Make room for De Bruyne. He has been playing well, getting the assists as well as getting a goal here and there. So um, there is definitely a good chance that you can pick up the 5 top midfielders here, still have room to have somebody like a Lukaku or Kane up front with another one like Morata, and then doing something, if you move here into the forwards, some of these lower ranked, Tammy Abraham is one that you might want to do. I would say you're better off going with someone like Diouf. Well, Nias is going to be out for this week, so you don't want to avoid him. But Glenn Murray has done a little bit better. I might want to hold off on him this week against Manchester United, but they do have some decent fixtures coming up here. So Glenn Murray is a big one that you might want to look at picking up to make some room. Joselu, again, Newcastle has looked pretty good this season. They do have a couple home fixtures here. They just have this tough stretch in here, and even the Leicester and Everton matches. Those could be really good ones for them to pick up some points. So could look at bringing him in. So yeah, I think that kind of covers all of that there. So I'm going to move on. So that's it for kind of my FPL, the official game tips. And I'm going to move on to doing some of the daily fantasy. I just got involved with, just checked out fantasyxl.com here. And I like theirs mostly because I can play it. Some of these other games I really can't play since I live in the States. But I like this one. Very simple format. And I do like that. I don't like a whole lot of stuff going on with my, with fantasy stuff. So for my team this week, I'm going with Nick Pope in goal, mostly because of his. I mean, if he gets saves, he's going to get points. He has a lower price tag there, so that's basically the main reason I'm picking him. I don't know. I don't think that Burnley is going to have a clean sheet this weekend. But I think Arsenal's going to come through with some quality fantasy points this week. Kolasinac. I think Arsenal's going to be able to have a clean sheet this weekend. So actually, looking at the fixtures for this weekend, I am picking United for a clean sheet, Spurs for a clean sheet, Arsenal, and Man City. Those are my 4 picks for clean sheets this week. So trying to stack some of those players. I threw Charlie Daniels in here mostly because of the price tag. Bournemouth could easily pick up a clean sheet against Swansea. It's just Swansea at home has done well scoring goals, and Bournemouth on the road, Bournemouth both places has not really kept the goals out, but I think that he has good attacking points as well. Marcus Alonso, I'm actually thinking he's one that I actually might. Well, I guess the main reason I picked him is because of his price in this game. Might be better off trying to stack some Arsenal players, trying to stack some of these other teams that might be picking up clean sheets, like Man City, like Manchester United, Arsenal players. You could look at even the Spurs players, but the problem is a lot of those are kind of the higher priced players. So someone in Bournemouth, Burnley always gets solid defensive points. You might want to look at those. My midfield here, I went with Sané, Eden Hazard, Mesut Ozil, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek mainly for the price point, and I am putting a little bit of stock in him, thinking that he's gonna do well this week. Crystal Palace has looked a little bit better, and both he and Zaha are doing well at getting forward. Ozil, I think that he'll be able to contribute. If they're really going to break down Burnley's defense, they're going to need him to really step it up. And Hazard has looked much better in recent weeks. I don't remember. I think I definitely looked at the statistics a few weeks ago, and he was looking a really solid pick as far as his underlying statistics. He just wasn't coming through. He's getting a lot of shots on target, just not putting them in the right places. So he's looked a lot better, getting a lot of take-ons, getting past players, and getting himself and the ball into dangerous positions. And against Liverpool's defense, I know they've been solid at home, only allowed the one goal at home in the Premier League this season. And yeah, so I think that I think Chelsea in general should be able to break down the Liverpool defense and get a goal. One of the things that I was looking at is um, the number of set piece goals that Liverpool has allowed. I believe they have allowed 5, which is the third most in the league for set piece plays. So they're not very great on there. And Chelsea, I believe I saw their third or fourth with set piece goals scored, and they're up near the top as far as aerial duels won. And actually, you just pull up all of those statistics right here. Goal types, set piece goals. Chelsea's fourth with 5 goals scored. Liverpool third, 5 goals allowed on set pieces. And then also looking at aerials won, Chelsea is at 15.3 per game, so not super high, but Liverpool just below them. It could be an interesting stack to go with Chelsea players for this weekend. I did put Lukaku up front. I think he'll get a goal against Brighton. Richarlison has looked, he's been good all season. And then Choupo-Moting. There's plenty of other really great choices up front. Salah, even against this Chelsea defense, I think he is a goal threat. Morata, definitely a goal threat against Liverpool. Harry Kane, he's one I considered going with. Mainly, I went with Lukaku as a United supporter, just trying to back him. Probably shouldn't do that, but it's something that I just kind of went with. And depending on the format, what their points, how they do points, might determine which which players in general you want to go with. But for this format, I decided to go with Lukaku. All right, moving on. That's from Fantasy XL for Daily Fantasy. I just did a draft this morning with Draft Fantasy. So it's at draftfantasyfootball.co.uk. You can find them there. And so I did my draft this morning. Problem was I was also trying to pack up, get ready to go on vacation, so didn't really pay as close attention as I would have liked. But just real quick, I'm probably going to put out a video later on about Draft Fantasy and detail things a little bit more. But one of the interesting things about them is you are only allowed 1 player per team, at least for this league that I'm in. And it was just the normal snake draft style. It was fun while I was able to participate, and I feel like I got a really good team here. Kane, Richarlison, Rashford up front, Sane, Gross, Davis, Wijnaldum in my midfield, Monreal, Cahill, and Ward for defense, and then Schmeichel as my keeper there. I was able to pick up Lascelles and Lowe, as well as Fabianski as backups and Lanzini. Might look at moving Lanzini out. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like I said, I'm probably going to check back in, do a video covering them later on. The other draft that I'm in is at Taga. I do also write for them occasionally. And my team for this week, yeah, what to say about this team? I'm not super happy with it. I think I covered them before and said that at the time, I know I'd written an article previously talking about, going with your head over your heart. And during this draft, I definitely went with my heart over my head, and I really got punished for it. I relied way too much on Mkhitaryan and Pogba earlier in the season, and now Mkhitaryan especially has really dropped in form, and that's hurt me quite a bit. Pogba being injured hurt me, and now Eric Bailly's out. I could drop him for Rojo, but it's not sure if he's coming back. Yoshida has not been playing. I kind of have Courtois here, which, to be honest, I'm mostly just holding on to him so nobody else gets him. It's a little bit frustrating, but that's the way it is. Chicharito has not panned out the way I thought he would, so now I'm stuck with Calvert-Lewin and Vardy up front. definitely should have gone with a forward in the first round. I did pick Pogba. I'm happy with that pick. I should have gone with a forward for the second round for sure. Instead, I went with Mkhitaryan, tried to stack my midfield, and I got punished for it. And have not been playing all that great in that one. Well, yeah. So the other thing that Taga does is their perfect 11. And for that, that's one where you can stack players. And I would recommend stacking Arsenal, always Man City, Manchester United's attacking players. Just make sure you figure out who's actually going to be starting. Tottenham, their attacking players, even their defensive players, I think they're going to pick up a clean sheet. Same thing with United and City. Clean sheets for both of them. Liverpool and Chelsea definitely want to go with their attacks. So now, if you're looking for differentials, Leicester City might be a good place to look for differentials, as well as Stoke City and Crystal Palace. I think that Crystal Palace and Stoke City is going to have some goals in it. Both of them finished 2-2 in their last week's matches, so I think that you should look at picking up some attacking players from both of those teams and probably avoiding any defensive players. It should be an interesting match as far as that goes. West Ham is so hit or miss this season. I don't know. I would not be surprised to see them go down, especially now that Moyes is in charge. Yeah, he's already shown that, I don't know, it kind of makes me wonder how well Everton would have done if they did not have Moyes there. After seeing the way that he's managed for other teams, who knows? Maybe Everton could have been up in the Champions League places more frequently if he weren't their manager. But that aside, West Ham has really underperformed this season, and I really got to go with Leicester City in that match and think that they'll be able to break them down and get some goals. So looking at Vardy, Okazaki has been picking up the points coming in off of the bench. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if he's available in this league. No, definitely not available, which makes sense. So just kind of looking here at his minutes. Just to load. So yeah, getting 520 minutes. He's getting his chances here and there. Has already scored 4 goals this season. Might be somebody to look at as a differential. Even looking at as a differential here in the official format. Do Leicester here. See what he's like. 5.6. Definitely a solid differential play there up front, creating some extra room. Just got to realize that you're really banking on him getting goals, because he's not going to be. Maybe he will start this weekend, but he's really not a starter. He's more of like an impact player coming in off of the bench, trying to get goals late in the match. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. Let's talking about captain's picks. I think right now, based on this team that I have, I'm going to go with Lukaku for my captain. If you have Lukaku, you want to go with him. If you have Kane, I would captain Kane over Lukaku. I'll probably captain Kane over just about anybody else if you have him. If you don't have either of them, say you do have Aguero, Jesus, probably want to go with one of those two. You want to go with somebody. I mean, you could always do something like Richarlison as a differential captain pick. Go with somebody else in midfield, Salah even. I don't know how many people are really expecting Liverpool to come away with a win in that match, but if anybody's going to score, it's probably going to be him. All right, well, that wraps it up for my Game Week 13 Fantasy Premier League tips. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that. Feel free to comment. Let me know who are your captain's picks. Who are your differential picks for this week. Let me know if I missed anybody. Yeah, definitely comment in the section below. I do try to respond to any comments that I get there, so do that. You can also get me on Premier FPL on Twitter, or Todd_Shank on Twitter as well. I try to do more fantasy FPL stuff on my Premier FPL, so you might want to check do that one. But yeah, definitely would appreciate a like here and subscription to the channel.